Is it possible to achieve a high level of success at a young age?
Oh my God. 16 got an Emmy. What the hell? Wow, wow, wow.
Also, is it possible to achieve that level of success in a short amount of time?
You know, success in general. And then, as you know, to prove that it all worked, I took $1 and in 180 days I turned it into $1 million.
You see, these were questions I was asking myself at 23 years old when I set off on a 2-year challenge to retire my family and become financially free. Now, at first I had doubts, but it wasn't until I stumbled across a book called Psycho Cybernetics that I started to believe that yes, it was in fact possible. When I was reading through the book, I stumbled across this exercise and it changed everything. In the exercise, it suggests that you find people who exhibit the qualities of character and personality that you desire, but also the level of success that you're after. So, I chose 3 people that, number 1, have what I want, number 2, have a similar background to me, number 3, did it in a fairly short amount of time, and number 4, exhibit those personality traits that I desire as well. What you're about to see is an in-depth character analysis of those 3 individuals in all different career paths, and you're going to see who they were growing up, their cognition process, their work ethic, and also who their mentors are. Through that, we're going to connect the dots and try and figure out what makes them tick, but also more importantly, what makes them successful. To begin, we'll look at the first person I chose, Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf is Hollywood's reigning it boy. His biggest champion?
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg.
Spielberg's a fan. You can't get any bigger than that.
He's traveling with kings.
While he may not be a household name yet, Shia's already a major star to young audiences. At 21, he carried 3 back-to-back 2007 hit movies. And with the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Shia is poised to reach superstar status.
I chose Shia for a few reasons, actually. I grew up watching his movies, and he was a really big influence on my childhood because he was the most relatable person I could find in Hollywood to my situation, and I was always trying to escape my own situation by watching movies and watching TV. And it really surprised me that he didn't actually go anywhere. He made the successful transition from child to adult actor. He's not the typical person that you expect to be a Hollywood A-lister, and against all odds, he somehow became arguably Hollywood's hottest young commodity, you know? And I began to wonder, who is the guy behind the character? So let's start by taking a look at his childhood.
Some say he wouldn't be where he is today without his chaotic and unconventional childhood, which was both a blessing and a curse.
You know, the best actors, or his favorite actors, are not suburban kids with ideal upbringings. They're people who've had difficult lives and complicated lives, and that's something that definitely fuels his art.
Shia was born on June 11th, 1986, in a rough part of Los Angeles, Echo Park.
He has this very unusual upbringing. His father was a Vietnam vet who got a substance abuse problem. His mother was a ballerina who had a bum knee, and she couldn't really work. Both of his parents couldn't really work.
The family was down and out, desperate for money. His father, Jeffrey, got his hands on a hotel maid's cart and turned it into a hot dog stand. Everyone in the family had to pitch in, including little Shia.
I think that Shia's past has everything to do with who he is as a performer and as a person. I think that it gave him a tremendous amount of courage. He was raised with total instability. You know, there was no real practical source for him to relate to, so he just had huge dreams.
I drew a lot of parallels watching that from his life into my own, and that's why I connected so deeply with Shia. Secondly, we're going to look at a guy named Farrah Gray.
My next guest achieved financial success at an unbelievably young age, making his first million, that's right, his first million by the age of 14. Farrah Gray created and sold his own food company based on maple syrup, is a business mogul, motivational speaker, and just wrote a book on how to become a realionaire. Please welcome Farrah Gray.
Thank you for having me.
Great for having you, sir. Now, I have to read this because people are not going to believe it. I'm going to embarrass you for a minute. Just very quickly, age 6, you sold body lotion door to door for $1.50. Age 7, you carried a business card that read 21st Century CEO. Age 8, formed the Urban Neighborhood Economic Enterprise Club. Age 9, co-hosted a radio show Backstage Live in Las Vegas, reached 12 million listeners. Age 12, lucrative career doing speaking engagements, earning him $5,000 to $10,000 appearance. Age 13, started Far Out Foods, which you sold at age 14 for $1 million. Age 16, acquired Inner City Magazine from Inner City Broadcasting. Age 17, financed a comedy show on Las Vegas Strip. 19, became a contributing author. 20, elected as the youngest member to sit in the board of directors, National Association of Real Estate Brokers. The great thing about my job is I get to interview newsmakers and celebrities and politicians and athletes. And you're about the most impressive guy I've met, so continued success.
Thank you.
I really mean that. Farrah Gray, a guy to watch and invest in.
When I started the challenge, I was looking for teen millionaires, young millionaires, and he was actually the first person that popped up, and still, to this day, the most impressive. And I mean, how could you not want to know how does someone become a millionaire by the age of 14? It's insane. It doesn't happen. So, obviously, I wanted to find out who was the man behind this title. So, let's take a look at his childhood.
Before the break, we met John Bryant, who grew up on the rough streets of Compton, California, and turned challenge into triumph, becoming a millionaire by making real estate deals. But what if this is the only real estate you know? These are the Robert Taylor homes, a place most kids can only imagine getting out of by rapping, golfing, blinging, or dying. Not Farrah Gray. Farrah Gray was a millionaire by the time he was 14. What clicked in your head as a child that says, I want to create something that I can make money with?
Being broke. Poverty will do it to you. When I say poor, most people think, okay, well, you at least had furniture, you at least had a car. No, we slept on the floor with the rats and with the roaches. As soon as I made my first million, I retired my mom and my grandmother. And I started buying real estate. I started buying actual gold and platinum and silver.
I'm beginning to notice a trend here. The third person we're going to look at is Tupac Shakur.
September 6th, 1996. Tupac Shakur is the most successful hip-hop artist in the world.
He's no different than the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. Tupac was a king of rap.
To his legions of fans, he is the ultimate gangster rapper.
Thug life, that's my color.
He is the angry voice of urban America.
Yes, I am going to say that I'm a thug. That's because I came from the gutter.
People in the hood call him Black Jesus. They was like he was sent here to save us.
I chose Tupac for a couple reasons. Growing up, I had an older brother who was 7 years older than me, and he would always listen to Tupac, so I began listening to Tupac way younger than I should have been, but I always liked his music, and as I grew up and started learning who he was as an individual, I became even more fascinated by him. But the main reason I chose Tupac was because he used art as a platform to create change, and he used that spotlight to shed light on some really, really bad things that were happening to the young black male and young black female. And I think artists today are lacking that. They're producing art to make money, but they're not using it in the right way. And in my own project and my future projects, I want to use art to shed light on things and help create change like Tupac did. So let's take a look at who Tupac was as a kid and how that influenced who he was as a man and his success.
The 1960s were a time of turmoil and liberation. Americans were confronted with the power of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. One group to rise from this atmosphere was the Black Panthers. The group believed that the only way to achieve black liberation was to form a black militia armed with enough firepower to fight the oppressive white government. Afeni Shakur, Tupac's mother, was in the forefront of the Black Panther movement.
My mother was a Black Panther, and she was really involved in the movement, you know, just black people bettering themselves and things like that.
He was a soldier from here. You seen it was the upbringing. You seen Pac, he had the fire in his eye.
You can't exempt this guy from his environment. His mother was a Panther Party operative. She was socially conscious. She guided her boy in the right direction.
Eventually led to the party's demise.
All the party members had a hard time right after the party was dissolved of getting into the workforce, and especially somebody like Afeni. You know, she ended up homeless on the streets of New York, of Boston. You know, she had a hard time. She ended up on drugs.
We moved out of New York because because of my mother's choices. They figured out who she was, and she couldn't keep a job. That should be illegal.
When I was young, I was quiet, withdrawn. I read a lot. I wrote poetry. I kept a diary. I watched TV all the time. I stayed in front of a television. And I could see all these people out there in this pretend world. And I knew I could be part of it if I pretended to. The way Arnold used to look when he used to come out on Different Strokes. I used to like the lifestyle, the way he used to live. So early on, I just watched and emulated. And I thought maybe if I can be an actor and I could act like those characters, I could have some of their joy.
Oh, thank you, Mr. D.
If I could act like I had a big family, I wouldn't feel as lonely.
This is the stairwell in the jungles. We used to sit right here in the hallways, busting raps. This is what I was talking about. Now, when you poor, right, and you broke, right, you sitting up here, you looking at all them rich people over there. That's Tiburon. That's the most expensive place in California to live. You right there around rich people all the time. That's like teasing you in your face if you starve.
He told me what was going on at his house, and within a couple months I realized that his mother was so addicted that his house was too dysfunctional to have a career, to keep going to school. So within a couple months he ended up coming to stay at my house.
That's all I ever wanted to do. Ask my mama. I wanted to go to college. I went to school all the way and was ready to go to college. The only thing that stopped me was money. The time all the kids in my school was writing applications to go to college, I didn't have no lights and no electricity. And that ain't my mama's fault. You know what I'm saying? So when I think back to that, I'm not thugging for me. I'm thugging for my family. I pay all the bills. You know what I'm saying? I feed my whole family. Wrong or right, I do. And I can't stop. You know what I'm saying? And if thugging is going to make me $1 million because it just got me platinum, then that's what I got to do constantly.
An actor, an entrepreneur, and a rapper. 3 different people, 3 different careers, and they all have a very similar upbringing. Now, I'm not saying that that's a requirement for success. However, the fact that they've all come from that, and I have as well, was very inspiring because it showed me that it's possible, and that's all I needed. So once I understood that, I wanted to know how they got started. What was their first step?
From his roles in Transformers to the latest Indiana Jones movie, our first guest is one of the busiest young actors around. Please welcome Shia LaBeouf.
No, you're asking why I went into show business?
Yes.
Because I was broke.
Okay.
And it seemed like a good way to make money at
Yes.
the time. I knew nothing about craft. There was no passion in the performance or anything like that. It was just.
How did you know there was money involved? Did you see someone?
I did. I used to surf in Malibu at this place where you needed a key to get in. It's called Point Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine had the key, and my friend also knew a kid who was on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. And he had like this really fresh Doyle board, like all brand new clothes, a Game Boy, the light up shoes. I was like, this guy is living the life.
Right.
Who were his parents?
Right.
And then I found out that it wasn't his parents, it was him, and he had gotten a gig on the show, and I'm going, well, I need the light up shoes now.
Right. And then how did you go about, what was your next move?
I got the yellow pages. We didn't have a computer or anything. We had yellow pages, and there was just looked for agent. And
I see.
Called the agent.
You called the agent?
Yeah, I was like
You just
10.
looked under agent?
Agent.
Okay.
Well, talent agent.
Uh-huh.
And I actually called a manager first named Howie Blowfish, and then he directed me. No joke, his name was Howie Blowfish. And I felt bad for him. And then after that subsided, I called the agent. He gave me the number, and I called, and I said, I'm the biggest thing in England, and you know, I'm this big manager, and I got this kid in England, and he'd love to be an actor, and can you meet him? And she knew it was a kid, because I was 10.
You were pretending to represent yourself?
Self.
Uh-huh.
And she...
Wait, how old were you?
10.
10, and you had a voice trying to be like an older...
Yeah, I was trying to sell myself.
Uh-huh.
And she bought you know, she thought, it's, you know, you really need to have... So you got to be a bold person to do something like that. And then they asked me to come in, and I read a Burger King commercial, and she said, "Good to go."
She took you on, and she is still your agent today.
Correct.
Wow.
Wild.
That's amazing.
But Farrah didn't need much to get started. Using his red lunchbox as a briefcase and his brother's clip-on tie, Farrah started his own business. It was a 6-year-old's version of real estate. Farrah went into business selling rocks. No, literally, rocks. He took rocks he found in the projects, painted them, and sold them door to door to his neighbors.
And I would knock on people's doors. Hello, my name is Farrah Gray. Nice to meet you. Would you like to buy this? And people were looking at me like, isn't that the rock that was in front of my door? I'm like, yeah, but it's different now. It can be used as paperweights, and it can also be door stoppers. So I made $50.
In 1989, while Tupac attended a dance function, he met Layla Steinberg. Layla was developing workshops in which young people could express themselves. They immediately connected and arranged to meet the very next day.
The very first day we met, he ended up coming from Marin City to this place with me that same day, and we did our little workshop here that night. And then from that night on, he was part of our group.
And at the time, I was working with a group called Digital Underground. And I called Shock G, who's the leader of the group, and asked him if he wanted to meet Tupac, and he said he would. He was in the studio, just sent him down.
Atron and Layla sent this kid Pac to the studio. We were mixing down Sex Packets, our first album. Pac came in the studio strictly business. Maintained eye contact with me the whole time. I'm at the mixing board. Do you want me to rhyme now? What's up, Shock G? Shock G? What's up? I'm Tupac. You want to hear it right now? I was like, damn, this cat's intense, you know?
Layla brought Pac over from Marin to meet Digital, and right away, him and my son hit it off. You know, Pac decided that he wanted to be in the group.
Pac had told Layla or Atron that, you know, if he doesn't do something now, you know, he's gonna go to Atlanta and be in the New African Panthers or something like that. And Atron was like, well, if Pac doesn't do something now, he's gonna break out. He's like, why don't you let Pac roll? Because, you know, I wanna sign him. You know, I think he has talent. And I was like, yeah, he is kinda hot.
It's very eye-opening that all three in different fields all had that get-up-and-go attitude. There was no contemplation, no thinking, no talking, just doing action right away. And eye on the prize, like a clear sense of purpose. So once I saw that, I wanted to know, what's their thought process like? What's their cognition like? What's their internal dialogue?
But the interesting thing that he said to me, maybe in the third season, I'm not sure. I said, Shia, you're making some good money now. You should do what Nick Spano, who plays your older brother, do. You should put some money away and maybe buy an apartment building, because I know you're very passionate about acting, but you're going to have up times and you're going to have down times, and you got to put some money away so that during the down times you can do what you want and do some theater and whatever. And he goes, Sean, I'll never be out of work. And I laughed. I go, oh, you know, I hear you, but seriously, you should you should put some money away. He goes, no, you don't understand. I will never, ever be out of work. And it was intense because it kind of shook me a little bit. First of all, he's a kid talking to an adult. Cut to 8 years later, and I've watched it. I go, is that the secret for us all? To be so confident that you will achieve your goals, that not getting them is not possible. And in his head, it was completely impossible that he would not be working. Now, he never has to work again. He's financially set, and his family's financially set. But also, the door is open that he will work for the rest of his life. I think it's Shia all the time when I'm trying to get a project done, and there's just no is not in his book. And he gets what he wants.
I want when they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world, and that's our job. And yet and all, I got the whole world fearing me, you know what I'm saying? At 23, weighing 160 pounds, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't even started. I haven't even rolled my plan out yet, and they scared. I got the vice president know who I am, the president, every cop in every city, you know what I'm saying? And I haven't even started working out a plan.
You a lawyer, if you a man, if you an African American, if you whatever the fuck you think you are.
we gonna be a man? How we gonna be African Americans? And we out here tonight. We thugs and we niggas until we set this shit right. Trust me when I tell you that shit.
I had never heard anyone speak in language like that. Every single word had intent. Every single word had meaning and a driving force behind it. It was life-changing for me. And that's why I decided to make my goal public. And I was so confident, you know? I wasn't confident on the inside right away, but that gave me the courage to broadcast it. And I knew that if that's what it takes, I'm gonna do it. It doesn't matter if I believe it right away or not. It's that fake it till you make it. It doesn't take long before your belief level rises. Now, what's even more interesting to note about this video is one of the men in it just so happens to be Farrah Gray's biological father. Let's take a look. Now, Tupac is speaking at the Indiana Black Expo in 1993, and the man you're looking at is Khalid Muhammed, who was a strong political activist, and he was very outspoken in what he believed in.
I believe that the liberation and salvation of the black nation must be brought about by black people gaining a thorough knowledge of self after our 500 to 6,000 year Holocaust, where we have lost over 600 million. And so I believe that that education process must be a process of two steps: inspiration and information. So I seriously give information, but black people are a people of rhythm and spirit, so I also give inspiration.
Dr. Khalid was well respected and also was the national assistant to Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam at one point in time, after which he became the national chairman of the new Black Panther Party. So, there's actually more parallels between Tupac and Farrah than one may assume. Now, Farrah's father, because he was a strong activist, a very prevalent member of the new Black Panther Party, coincides very well with Tupac's mother, who was a very strong political activist in the original Black Panther Party and philanthropist. So, both of their parents, Tupac's mom and Farrah Gray's dad, were very strong political figures in that sense, and that could definitely have a huge impact on who they were as children and who they became later on in life. So from there I wanted to see how their mindset translated into their work ethic.
Really quick, just some really quick advice for, you know, like me. I want to be like you. I want to be in all these movies. Yeah, of course. So what's your advice for me and
especially college, don't ever mistake preparation for productivity. You see what I mean? Where you'll prepare and take all these acting classes and then you'll never roll the dice. You'll be 5 years in school, and by the time you get out of school, you're too old to jump into the business anymore. And it's harder when you're older because you don't have a fan base built. You have no leverage with all the other guys who are going out for the same thing. So what happens is a convergence of actors all at once who just got out of school, all want to be actors, and nobody has the upper ground. Nobody started earlier. Don't ever mistake, preparation for productivity. Make product right now. Like, go shoot a monologue in that corner with this camera type of thing. Just make product.
How many of you believe that knowledge is power? Okay, hands down. I believe that knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. What do I mean by that? What do you do with it?
Shit, we only got 2 weeks to do this whole album. Complete it. Mix it down and everything. We don't have time or the luxury to spend all of this time doing one song. We don't have it. We gotta somehow find a way that we could double up on it. Cause I did my whole album, I know it ain't all of that, but I did my whole album like 3 songs a day. Okay. Just gonna pause this for 1 second. See, this thing right here changed everything for me. At the beginning, I thought, I was in preparation mode. I'm gonna find a producer, I'm gonna find financing, I'm gonna make this thing right. And then I watched that and I thought, wow, I don't have the time, This could take months, this could take a year to get all these things in order. I don't have time, I have to retire my family, I have to get this out. So watch this next clip and you'll see why I took the approach I did. This is the very first clip of the documentary. My name is Corey Wadden, I'm 23 years old, and I'm filming this in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. As you can tell, I am filming this from my cell phone. And now let's continue.
Garrity had worked with other young actors before, but none was as professional as Shia. I learned so much from him, and he's much younger than I am. He's there, like, our call time's 7 a.m. He's there outside of the trailer, dressed, ready to work, every day. Never late, he's 100%.
Yes! That's the thing. I mean, I think I'm, responsible, professional, turning up at 5:30 in the morning when I'm supposed to. He's the only actor I've ever worked with that will turn up at like 5:15. Yeah, and he actually makes us look bad then, yeah.
Shia is, I think, 18 or 19, and he's doing another movie right after this, and I remember those days of just working, and when you have a family, it's totally different.
Constantly writing, constantly working. From the studio straight to the set, out of town, straight to the commercial he had to film, straight back into the studio, straight to those cats' studio he promised he'd go by. Doesn't really want to go over there, but he knows how much it'll mean to them. Tupac Shakur was the hardest working man in hip-hop, hands down. His work proves that. Since he's died, more work's come out than before he was alive.
Everybody be ready to go to sleep, Pac could still be working. Let's go. Just action, let's go. We in, it's like we in the door now. Keep mashing, and success is not a faithful girlfriend.
Biggie Smalls, when they were friends before they became mortal enemies, said he went over to Tupac's house one day, and he said he went to visit him. Tupac went to the bathroom and came back. He said the man had written 2 raps.
When it comes to landing a role he really wants, Shia is all moxie. While other young actors might wave the white flag after being repeatedly rejected for a part, if Shia knows he's right for a role, he'll do whatever it takes to convince the director. Just ask Ditto Montiel, creative force behind the 2006 film, A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints.
Well, he came in to audition, Shia, and I was like, nah, he's not right. I was pretty obsessed with finding kids off the street that never acted before. I thought actors were going to destroy my movie. So I was kind of not into anybody, especially Shia. I was like, oh, forget it, this guy, no way.
How could this former Disney kid, mostly known for his comic-flavored roles, be right to play the raw and gritty part of a kid trying to survive the mean streets?
Shia kept sort of harassing, And then I spoke to his agent, and they said, he made his own little tape for you. Will you just look at it? And I kept saying, I'm telling you, I like him, he's a nice guy, but I'm never going to put him in a movie in a million years, So just look at this tape. He's going to kill me if you don't look at it.
He wasn't expecting much when he popped in Shia's tape.
I put it on, and it was really insane, incredible. And I had to say, oh, my God. Okay, and I was proven wrong again.
Shia demonstrated his pent-up fury on the tape, even smashing his hand into a wall. But this full-on commitment didn't shock Brian Garrity, Shia's co-star in the movie, Bobby.
He was really connected to that role, and Shia is working, he's always had a plan. It was like, you get in, then you change their minds. So I just went 150%. That's the kind of person, that's the kind of actor he is. It doesn't surprise me he punched a hole in a wall. I'm surprised he didn't punch the director in the mouth.
I was well introduced very early to rejection. When I went out with those rocks, some people didn't think that was cool. They had no need for it. People slammed the door on me, cussed me out, all kind of stuff. But I just made a few dollars on that door. And then I said, well, let me go to this one. I made some money there, but the person in between cussed me out. So, you kind of get a chance to see very early that not everybody's going to tell you no.
I don't know if anybody's told no more than this generation. No, you're not going to be successful. No, you can't have no books in your school. No, you can't have any computers. No, you're not going to make it outside of your community. So what was it for you that allowed you to see beyond the first 25 no's to a potential yes?
What I learned very early was you expect people to say no. It's easy to say no. So to me, I was like, no, okay, click, no, click. But I continued to persevere because I learned that we should never fear rejection and everything we want is on the other side of fear.
It's crazy how all 3 of them have this insatiable work ethic and have absolutely no fear. So once I saw that, I wanted to know, where are they learning from? Do they have mentors?
His recent Emmy helped him win the starring role in the offbeat dramedy.
Holes was his first big movie. It was a Disney movie, but he got to work with Sigourney Weaver and Jon Voight, and it was really an advance for him.
Voight was really the first person to talk to Shia about acting as a craft as opposed to just a way of making money. He shared some acting books with Shia, and Shia took something away from that this could be not only a way to get a cool skateboard, but in fact to sort of advance as a creative person.
Jon Voight's like my He's my ace. He's my mentor.
I think because of John's history as an actor that Shia just gave him so much respect, just completely wanted to have that kind of career. Could I someday have that kind of ascension? So I think Jon Voight just really was someone that set a bar for Shia wanting to impress working with him on that movie.
He's the only guy who was there as early as I was.
Even though this was a Disney film, it was far from a lighthearted romp.
Shia's first mentor was Jon Voight, but it didn't stop there. In fact, he's found quite a few different mentors throughout his career and his personal life. Here's 2 more examples.
So I remember Mark asking him, jumping in, saying, well, do you play golf? And Shia doesn't even miss a beat. He says, oh yeah, I got my clubs in the trunk of my car. No way. The clubs might have been in the trunk, but he wasn't swinging them. But I think it was his desire and his exuberance that won him the role.
Shia had to become as authentic a golfer as possible, so off he went to golf boot camp. For the first 3 months, it was 7 days a week of all-day swinging and putting lessons, plus all-over physical conditioning. Shia lost 10 pounds in the process. Not only did he work with golf pros, but he studied with the UCLA golf team, seeing how younger players approach the sport.
He got a lot out of watching these guys, how did they mentally get ready.
Shia trained for a total of 6 months, mastering a realistically expert swing. But this was just the beginning of what would be a very different acting assignment for him.
I heard that you did a lot of research. Yeah. In fact, maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit crazy in the research department.
Well, the beauty of the research thing is, like, yeah, if you don't know anything about finance, I've been kicked out of every school I've ever gone to, so I don't know much about math. But if I lost them, so before I did anything, before I really even met Oliver Stone, I went into this office in Encino. The Schwab office, which isn't really like the financial capital of the world.
Encino is not.
No, it's not. And so I go into this office and I'm sort of like, hey, I'm prepping for this movie, and one guy's like, oh yeah, you're in that Megan Fox flick. And so he's all excited, and so he like shows me the ropes, and he was really cool about it. And I get out to New York and I meet all these amazing people, and so I figure, all right, I'm gonna put some money in, right? Because you can't really, if you're ever going to invest, and I've always kind of wanted to, this was the time to do it. So I put $20,000 in, and that $20,000 turned into $489,000. I looked at it yesterday. So
$489,000?
Yes.
And how much time?
I mean, of course, and this isn't just me like Brainiac style. This is me with like the help of like the entire team. You know, there was like 4 or 5 guys I was really working with.
The team in Encino?
Well, they were part of it. There was a bunch of guys from Citibank.
Can I give you all my money to do something with?
I'm pretty good with it.
But like 2 years ago, weren't you, as I recall, painting toilet seats and selling them at the flea market?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now you just made $489,000 in the... Wow, that is crazy.
No.
Tupac is an example of someone who had a lot of mentors throughout his life, but the really important thing for him was that he was able to take certain characteristics from each one, and it created and shaped this three-dimensional character and person who had strong opinions on a wide array of subjects, and that was why he was so powerful and so interesting at a young age.
Have you ever seen, what would a Vietnam vet be like without a sergeant, without any backup, without any other soldiers, nobody but a Vietnam vet in Vietnam? When he came home, how would he be? And that's me. I had to go through all that street, war, everything, the same drugs that everybody else get turned out on. You know, where I would have been stopped short, I made it past. And here's where I am. But because I made it past, I missed some lessons. You know what I'm saying? And you can see the lessons that I missed when you talk to me. You can see where I haven't had a father when you talk to me. You know what I'm saying? You can see where I spent a lot of my time in the streets when you talk to me. Because the words that I say are not words that come from a mother's mouth or a father's mouth. It's words that comes from a pimp's mouth or a prostitute or a hustler or a drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? But to me, these were my role models.
Afeni never revealed publicly who Tupac's father was. She lived briefly with Tupac Shakur, who would become Tupac's stepfather and spiritual advisor during his younger years. Tupac was eventually taken from Tupac.
I was a man in Tupac's life who had a commitment. I was a man in Tupac's life who probably had a commitment to the struggle more than to the family. He learned a lot.
To this place with me,
that same day, and we did our little workshop here that night. And then from that night on, he was part of our group. He thought I was like the perfect package to get him where he needed to go.
Farrah's father's life was dedicated to activism, and because activism didn't quite come with a salary, it put a large financial strain on their family, which actually ended up leading to his mother leaving his father when Farrah was only 6 weeks old. Even though Farrah was raised by his mother, his father still played an important role in his life. Although they didn't see each other much, they still maintained a strong relationship, and Khalid was very proud and supportive of his son's decision to become an entrepreneur instead of following in his footsteps as a political activist. Farrah was really interesting because, yes, he did have mentors in person like Mary Rihanna and Shanto, but the majority of people that he called his mentors were authors of books that he had never met. And that was profound to me because I didn't have access to a lot of mentors, and I thought, wow, what am I going to do? And that gave me a strong sense of confidence in the fact that I should take reading books very, very seriously. And after that, I thought, do all successful people read a lot of books? Let's take a look at the other two to see.
Our relationship was really a relationship that we searched for knowledge, we explored together. And I'll just tell you a book right now, it's been around for a long time. It's called Ponder on This. The stuff we were exploring together, food for thought, alignment, the ancient mysteries, astrology, the Buddha, challenge, Christ, the impact of color, our state of consciousness, medicine, the moon, the occult teachings, Rajneesh, telepathy, the Kabbalah, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. He read Roots a number of times. Taylor Chardin, The Phenomenon of Man. And as you study Tupac's lyrics, you start to know and understand how much he incorporated his reading, even his last albums. So Pop would read a book like this, it's a pretty big book, and he would attack people's definitions. So what is cultural literacy, and who defines it? And is this white perspective, or is this multicultural perspective?
There should be a drug class, there should be sex education, there should be a class on...
Shia has on numerous occasions talked about the importance of seeking out knowledge, and a big way for him of doing that is by reading books. And I would say the most important thing that's documented of showcasing that for him was when he was on the movie Holes, and he met Jon Voight. Jon Voight became his mentor, as we saw, and Jon actually had him read a long list of acting books, and that changed his perception of acting as a way of making money to acting as a craft and potentially a lifelong career. To conclude, just going over the 5 major aspects of character that we showed: upbringing, cognition, how they got started, work ethic, mentorship, and the bonus was knowledge. It's very eye-opening to see that people in completely different fields can share the same systems of success. By the time I was done this exercise, I had spent over 100 hours studying these 3 individuals. It was such a profound experience for me because it allowed me to take them off the pedestal I had them on, deconstruct who they were, and draw a lot of parallels in our lives. And what I realized was most of the things they did were within their control, and most of the changes that I needed to make to get to that level of success seemed to be within my control. And once I saw what they had to do to get to where they are, everything changed. Now, I'm not saying that this is the recipe for success or that this will give you guaranteed success. However, 95% of these things illustrated in this video are completely within your or my control. With the flip of a switch overnight, we can completely change. We can be bold, get started right away, have a tireless work ethic, speak in absolutes, be absolutely confident in what we set out to do, find mentors, read books. These things can completely change our lives, and it did mine after I watched this. So I'm going to leave you with a montage video of other successful young people, and I hope it inspires you to find people that you look up to and study them. Figure out what makes them tick and allow it to change your life too.
Find someone who has a life that you want and figure out how they got it. Read books, pick your role models wisely, find out what they did and do it.
Why does that guy think like that?
right? How do you arrive at that point? You got to also look at that.
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it. Yeah. Period.
Even in high school, teachers would always tell me to snap out of it or snap back to reality. But I was in reality.
Fitting in is kind of overrated. I think that when I look back at college, when I look back at high school, many of the people who did the most interesting things did not fit in very well. So I would just tell them that. I would look at some historical figures. I mean, they probably don't know who I am, but I would say, Richard Branson, these types, they didn't fit in. Are you kidding me? Bunch of weirdos, in a good way.
I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. Where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. You know, while the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working.
One summer, his dad tore down a brick wall on the front of his business and told 12-year-old Will and his 9-year-old brother to rebuild it, a job they said was impossible. It took them a year and a half, but they did it.
And he said, now don't you ever tell me it's something that you can't do. You don't try to build a wall. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. And you do that every single day, and soon you have a wall.
Don't ever mistake, preparation for productivity. Make product right now. Like, go shoot a monologue in that corner with this camera type of thing.
Never make me no underdog, and never talk about who's gonna stop me. Well, ain't nobody gonna stop me. Not a heavyweight in the world fast enough to stop me.
I think everybody knows it's possible to be successful. I mean, we got TV. We know it's possible to be lawyers, doctors, artists, musicians, whatever. But just because we know it's possible doesn't mean it's real. It's not real until you see it happen. Imagine you had everything you wanted, everything. Imagine you were everything you ever wanted to be, and capture that feeling. That's the easiest way to manifest what you want. Fuck letting life pass you by. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey of making all your dreams and goals reality. Because the journey makes you who you are.